This has been a very interesting hearing. Mr. Waltz, welcome to Oversight. Yes, it usually gets like this. Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that.
You just saw a little taste of a masterclass in how to dismantle bad arguments with straight facts. What you're about to see is one of the clearest examples of the fight we're in for the soul of America. On one side you have common-sense conservatives like Bryon Donalds, who just want to apply the law equally to everyone. And on the other, you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her allies, who will twist themselves into knots to defend their political allies and distract from the truth. It's a story we see playing out every single day. People like AOC and the Squad are pushing this radical socialist-light agenda that is fundamentally changing our country for the worse, and they use every trick in the book, deflection, emotional manipulation, changing the subject, to avoid being held accountable. But then you get people like Bryon Donalds, who are willing to stand up, look them right in the eye, and speak the plain, simple truth.
We're about to watch the full exchange, and I want you to pay close attention to the difference in their styles. It's logic versus emotion. It's facts versus fantasy. If you're tired of the hypocrisy and you're ready to see someone finally fight back, then make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell because you are not going to want to miss our breakdown of this epic showdown. Alright, let's get into the full video.
Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that. And then he has the unmitigated gall to show up here when we know that we're going through actually the legislation for contempt with, by the way, Mr. Chairman, we should actually get to the legislation of contempt. The speechifying is great, but let's do our business, members. He has the gall to come here, show up, and then when the Democrats are saying, hey, he wants to speak, he leaves. This is a joke. This is a farce. The man has been subpoenaed by Congress. Oh, and by the way, the January 6th committee, Mr. Raskin, which you did sit on, by the way, that was not a normally ordered committee of Congress because Nancy Pelosi did not want the Republican members that then Leader McCarthy put up.
According to the courts, it was.
I my time, sir.
Will you yield for a correction?
I was respectful of your time. I didn't say anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward with our business. He should be held in contempt. There was a subpoena. He did not answer it. Any other American will be held in contempt by Congress. Any other. This is Democrat privilege of the highest order. Let's do our jobs. I yield.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes Ms. Ocasio-Cortez from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to address briefly, quickly, that moment about privilege and all of this that we're seeing here. It was a very beautiful speech. As also the Republican side had mentioned in their many raisings of the January 6th committee, that it's not just Hunter Biden, you, me, any individual subject to equal treatment under the law, to be held up to accountability under the law, but it is also these committees and this committee that is subject to oversight and law. We must comply with the law here as well. Now, I may be one of the very few people that actually believes in Congress, in this country, but I do, and many of us do here. And we have an obligation to engage in good faith participation to execute and comply with the subpoena. The chairman said in front of the country several times to Hunter Biden, you can show up here in front of the world, in front of the public. Hunter Biden took him up on that offer. He said, I will show up in public. I will show up in public. He showed up here today. He showed up here in the past. And Mr. Chairman, I know you do your best with what you've got, but you've got members here that have submitted falsified evidence to the record. You have members here that have submitted and mischaracterized closed-door hearings, and people want to say back and forth at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what party it's happened from. You've got members who've engaged in revenge porn in this committee. So it is understandable why Hunter Biden would want to testify in front of the public for the American people to be able to witness that testimony for themselves. You've got members who've defied subpoenas. You've got members who we are 1 year into the term asking what the rules are at the beginning of the committee. The book was given to us on day one. And so what we should do is allow the man to testify. I believe in the power of the Oversight Committee. Frankly, I believe in it regardless of whether Republicans or Democrats have the chair, because I believe that this committee should have the power of oversight, and we cannot do that on a partisan basis. And so for that, I implore this committee to allow Hunter Biden to testify publicly. I implore and I ask for that to happen. And we cannot do that by getting engaged in this back and forth on a defiance of the subpoena. Let him comply. Let him do it today. Let him do it tomorrow. But let the man do it. And with that, I yield back to the ranking member.
Thank you, Ms. Ocasio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. First, it was said in this hearing, Mr. Chairman, about you specifically, that you repeatedly said you would give Mr. Biden any opportunity. He could choose which one to come and speak in front of this committee. He could do it by deposition. He could do it by open hearing. It was up to him. The truth of the matter, though, is, members, is that the chairman's words are not binding. Like, no other member's words of Congress are really not binding. The binding article.
Point of order. Does the chairman agree with that? Point of order. Does the chairman agree?
Are you going to restore my time?
Point of order. Just point of order.
Okay.
Does the chairman agree that the chairman's words are not binding on the committee?
That's not a point of order. It has nothing to do with the order of this hearing. Thank you. Can I go back to 4 minutes and 34 seconds? That's where I was before I was interrupted by Mr. Raskin.
Yes, reset the
Thank
clock.
you. Thank you. What is binding is the actual written document, the written language in the subpoena, because a subpoena from this committee is also signed off on by the clerk of the House. That is the binding document that matters here. That is what governs. That's number one. Number two, that was said in this hearing. It was said that our witnesses said that there was no basis for an impeachment. But remember, members on the Democrat side of the aisle, what was said by Mr. Turley at the time was that there was plenty of evidence for the continuation of an impeachment inquiry. And the purpose of that hearing was the relevance basis for an impeachment inquiry. The House has now voted for an impeachment inquiry. And one of the first things that the House did after the vote of an impeachment inquiry was to subpoena Hunter Biden to appear. Hunter Biden has evaded that subpoena. So flagrantly did he evade it that he decided to show up at the Senate side to give a press conference, and Eric Swalwell, a member of the House, helped him get that time on the Senate side to give a press conference. That's a flagrant violation of a congressional subpoena. Secondarily, he has the gall to show up here when we're actually discussing contempt. And he didn't stay. He was sitting right over there. He's not here now. He said he wants to talk. He could have stayed through the whole proceeding. He chose to leave. That's his business. But he was subpoenaed to come here. Back in December, he chose not to of his own volition. He's in violation of that subpoena, a subpoena that was executed with the signature of the clerk of the House of Representatives. That is the document that is binding. That's what we work off of. Mr. Chairman, I actually want to submit for the record an article from The Hill written by Jonathan Turley, and it is titled Eric Swalwell and the Politics of Contempt.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. I'm glad something got admitted to the record. Last, a couple other points. One quick point I want to make, and this is in reference to the minority's report about this $7.8 million. I want the minority to understand one very important distinction between President Biden and President Trump. President Trump has an international real estate portfolio that he has amassed over decades. I'm quite sure if you go back through all of the hotel receipts before he was president of the United States, that you had foreign dignitaries staying at Trump hotels all across the world.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'm not going to yield, Mr. Raskin. I'm making a point because they're actually very nice hotels. They look good. People like staying there. President Trump was not running the Trump Organization when he was president of the United States. To my recollection, Eric Trump, the president's son, was actually running the Trump Organization when President Trump was president of the United States. So if he had a portfolio of hotels and people choose, through Expedia, through Kayak, through Hotels.com, if they choose to go and stay there, how is that the president being in violation of what the emoluments clause? Is that what you're citing? Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, America, this is ridiculous. The Biden family has no business. They've never had a business except for politics. And the one thing that the Oversight Committee, in conjunction with the Ways and Means Committee and in conjunction with the Judiciary Committee, has always been able to demonstrate is that they shook down foreign nations for millions, 26 million at the latest count, and growing, millions. And there was never any business entity involved except public corruption and a pay-for-play scheme. We have questions for Hunter Biden. We issued a subpoena for him to answer said questions. He ignored a congressional subpoena as a private citizen. There are many attorneys on the other side of the aisle.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, where do we even begin? That was incredible. Let's start with Bryon Donald's opening. He kicks it off perfectly. This isn't about white privilege, it's about Democrat privilege. Boom. Right out of the gate, he completely reframes the narrative and exposes what's really going on. The rules are simply different if you have a D next to your name, and your last name is Biden. He brings up the fact that Donald Trump Jr. complied with subpoenas multiple times. That one point alone completely destroys the media's narrative. It shows this isn't about politics as usual. It's about a clear double standard.
Hunter Biden can just decide not to show up for a legal subpoena and hold a press conference instead, and the Democrats rush to defend him. It's a joke, just like Donald said. And then comes AOC. And folks, this is straight from the radical left playbook. When you can't argue the facts, you change the subject and try to make your opponent look like a bad person. Did you catch that? She immediately tries to make this about the majority party eliminating the Civil Rights Subcommittee. What in the world does that have to do with Hunter Biden ignoring a legal order to appear for a deposition? Absolutely nothing. It's a classic, shameless deflection. It's an attempt to call her opponents racist to distract from the actual topic. It's insulting to our intelligence. Then she makes this argument that the chairman publicly offered Hunter a chance to testify in public. This is where she either shows she has no idea how Congress actually works, or she's being deliberately dishonest with the American people. A casual comment from a chairman does not legally override a formal written subpoena that was signed by the clerk of the House. That's not how the law works. It's a ridiculous argument, and Bryon Donalds calls her out on it perfectly in his final response. The subpoena is the binding document, period. And just when you think it can't get any more absurd, she starts talking about revenge porn and other supposed bad acts by members of the committee. Again, what does that have to do with anything? It's a giant smokescreen. It's a desperate attempt to throw mud everywhere in the hopes that you'll forget the central issue. A powerful person thinks he's above the law. This is why people are so sick and tired of politicians like AOC. Instead of addressing the issue, she performs. She plays the victim, attacks her opponent's character, and tries to confuse everyone. But Bryon Donalds wasn't having it. His final response was the knockout punch. He calmly, methodically, and logically dismantled every single one of her points. He clarified that the chairman's words aren't a binding contract. He pointed out the blatant hypocrisy. He laid out the facts about the Biden family business, or lack thereof, compared to the Trump Organization. He brought it all back to the simple truth. A subpoena was issued and it was ignored. End of story. That's how you do it. You don't get emotional. You just state the facts. Now, if you thought that was a powerful defense of the truth, you have to see him when he's speaking freely without being interrupted. Here's a clip of him at CPAC talking specifically about what it's like serving on a committee with AOC.
I serve on a committee with Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, you've heard of her. Okay. And she literally believes that we can print whatever we want. It doesn't matter how much we borrow. It doesn't matter how much we spend. But she can believe all that while she drives her nice little Tesla and lives in one of the most expensive apartments in Washington, D.C. You see, the left loves to deride capitalism, but they actually love capitalism. They love what it creates for them. But they want you, and they want me, and they want every hardworking American to bend the knee. But America has woken up, and we have realized that we're not going down a socialist road, and we're going to fight them.
He's 100% right. He sees it every day. She and her squad members genuinely believe that money is a social construct, and you can just print trillions of it with no consequences. All while she drives a Tesla and lives in one of the most expensive areas in DC. The hypocrisy is absolutely stunning. They want socialism for thee, but not for me. People like Byron Donalds are on the front lines, fighting against this ideology that is bankrupting our country, both morally and financially. It's just refreshing to see someone who isn't afraid to stand up and speak the plain, unvarnished truth. But I want to know what you all think. Are we finally seeing more politicians growing a spine and calling out the nonsense from AOC and the squad? Or is this just a rare moment? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So there you have it, folks. A clear-as-day example of what we're up against. You have principled leaders like Byron Donalds who come armed with facts, logic, and a respect for the rule of law. And on the other side, you have performers like AOC who use misdirection, emotional appeals, and baseless attacks to protect their allies and advance an agenda that is hurting this country. The battle for America is happening right there, in those committee rooms, and it's being won by those who are brave enough to stand up and speak the truth, even when it's not popular with the mainstream media. Donalds didn't back down. He didn't get flustered. He just laid out the facts. That's the kind of leadership we need more of. Thanks so much for watching this breakdown with me. If this is the kind of content you want to see more of, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to see a real conservative fighter in action. Let's get the truth out there. Until next time, stay vigilant.